This is the story of the very first alien Christmas.
This is Earth. We will build the ultimate weapon, and their stuff will be our stuff!
Who are you?
The world could never have predicted how alien it would be.
X, look out!
Do you have a plan B?
Nope.
Hello, everybody, and thank you for joining us today. It is my great pleasure to introduce Edward and Stephen Chiodo, master stop-motion animators and the makers of a new holiday special on Netflix, Alien Xmas. A big thank you to CTN for having us. We're thrilled to be here. So, guys, let's dive in. Edward, Stephen, how are you both doing today?
Doing fine, thank you.
Doing great, thanks.
Wonderful. It was really exciting to hear news of the special when it was announced, I think last year, and now finally to see it appearing. There's a new trailer, a lot of excitement for this one. So the special, it started with a book. Can you tell us about the inspiration behind that?
Well,
Actually,
it really started with a special. We had always enjoyed watching the holiday specials, the Charlie Brown, the Grinch, and especially Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer when we were children. And we always had the desire to make a holiday special of our own. So we decided to kind of combine our love of Christmas with science fiction. And we came up with what we think is a holiday special, the likes of which you've never seen.
And it's funny, it's had a pretty interesting journey because it actually, again, we always had this love of it. Like Stephen said, wanting to do our own little holiday special. But at the time we were working as for client, ABC Family, doing interstitials bumpers for their 25 Days of Christmas campaign. And the executive we were working with, just, she loved the stop motion specials and everything. And she said, hey guys, do you have any special ideas? And this one had been percolating for a little while in Stephen's head. So it started out as a pretty traditional media pitch to try and get it going.
And we went around the industry pitching it, and we got good response, but it never really put it over the top.
So it's funny, in the process of developing the pitch, we had to come up with the story, the characters,
we had
the through line, maquettes, and presentation artwork. So we had the makings of a great book, and we happened to be friends with Bob Sell from Baby Tattoo Books, and he fell in love with the concept and offered us a little book deal.
Yeah, so we figured the idea was too good just to kind of let waste from pitching, so we decided to make a book to kind of complement it and keep the idea going.
And it was pretty funny because then all of a sudden, the idea got really good response in pitches, but stop motion, it's a long, tedious process, a lot of elements handmade and that stuff. So it's a little more expensive for like a one-off special. So that was what really stopped it being happening at the time of the original concept. But it's funny, then we made the book. It kind of validated the idea that, hey, this has multimedia potential. And then it got traction with it. And then coincidentally, we were working with John Favreau on Elf. And, we're just kind of sitting around talking, hey, what other things you guys working on? And we showed him the book. And he fell in love with it as well because he's a huge fan of stop motion. And actually, we took it out with him at that time. But circumstances.
So it was a long journey from concept to the book to the special.
And so when and why did you decide to translate that for the screen?
We wanted to create a holiday special that had a lot of warmth and heart, that kind of conjured up the kind of memories we had when we were younger watching these specials, more of a family-oriented show. But there was this Chiodo Brothers edge we wanted to kind of put into it, and it was that sci-fi element. So we just figured we wanted to hang on to that, and when we pitched John, after our experience with him on Elf, he just kind of took to it, and we developed it with John, and he was able to help us maintain the heart and the warmth human story while we kind of peppered it with our sci-fi comedy.
Yeah, again, kind of reclaiming stop motion back from some of the more darker gothic pictures that it's been associated with. Even something as great as Nightmare Before Christmas has this little bit of dark edge, and some of the Leica features, Coraline, Paranorman, there's always kind of like a little supernatural dark edge. And we wanted to kind of reclaim stop motion back to the holiday spirit, because, you know, it kind of goes hand in hand, Christmas and stop motion, going back to Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Santa Claus is Coming to Town, the great Norelco commercials with Santa on the razor going through the snow and things. So that was our memories, our earliest memories of stop motion. And then sitting around on network television watching it with the family.
Absolutely. So you mentioned John Favreau, and I know you worked with him on the animated sequence for Elf, which is an absolute classic. And he executive produced this project. So how big of a supporter has he been for you?
He's been an amazing supporter, collaborator, partner on this. Again, he took it to it very early. He was an early adopter, but then he took his career kind of took a little sidetrack. You know, Iron Man 2, Jungle Book, Lion King.
So we finally reconnected after that. But it's really, John brought this incredible storytelling sensibility. He brings the heart to our story. And I think it was a great collaboration. We got great support from John and as well as Netflix.
Oh, that's terrific. I see you have brought some friends with you today.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, this is our cast of characters. Here's X, the thieving little gray alien whose mission is to go to the North Pole to steal Earth's gravity. And because of that, Santa Claus and the elves become the first line of defense against an alien invasion.
Ooh, without giving away too much.
It's cool because you kind of see the scale of these characters. Everything you see here is made by hand. Everything in the movie is handcrafted. I think there's one bead that we purchased that went on the set without some sort of modification. Virtually everything you see about it is hand tailored, and that's kind of the cool thing. That's one of the things we love about stop motion is the artistry and the talent we get to work with to help bring it to life.
Yeah, I think that's what attracted John. In Elf, he wanted to create the Rankin and Bass style in the film, and so he's a real fan of stop motion. So he really took to this technique, and he agrees with us that there's a toyetic quality where these little figures magically come alive on the screen, and there's really nothing quite like it.
Oh, that's really cool. Tell us more about the creative choices behind the special.
Oh, there were so many. Actually, tackling the scope of the story was really a daunting. We go from spaceships in outer space, and we created the North Pole, Santa's village, and we go underground to an ice cavern, and then we have this climactic battle for the Earth up at the North Pole with elves and snowmen and reindeers battling these aliens. So just kind of coordinating all of that scope for the sets and the puppets. I mean, how many puppets did we create?
You know, I don't know what the count was. My guess is it's
Lots.
probably well over 100 puppets.
And how many sets?
Oh, I think we had maybe 20.
Yeah, I mean, we actually shot on 16 stages over the course of about 6 months. So we had multiple puppets, multiple sets. Yeah, they're probably about 20 or so set pieces. In the movie.
We had the Santa's Toy Factory, which was a really great location. Gave us an opportunity to really kind of go crazy with what kind of factories, what kind of machines did Santa's Toy Factory have.
For the 16 sets, was that simultaneously, or would some be broken down and others would be set up?
Yeah, and we had 16 stages that were fully operational at all times, but we had anywhere from 8 to 10 animators working on those stages. So while sets were being set up on one stage, they were shooting on another. And when they were done, they'd move over to a set that was ready waiting for them.
So you've talked a little bit about Rankin Bass and some of the other classics. Were there other influences or inspirations for the overall look of, say, the town at the North Pole and other elements?
Well, yes, actually, we wanted to find a classic image of Santa's village, something that would kind of resonate not just with the American audience, but also the international audience. Netflix is an international company, and this is being shown all over the world. So I guess it was Walt Disney's Pinocchio. That German village, Rothenburg, was the inspiration behind Santa's village. It's this German kind of a cookie cottage type look. And our art director, Jeff White, helped us create this beautiful location with a lot of color. And what we wanted to do, we wanted to kind of contrast the warm Christmas colors of Santa's village with the dark, drab, muted tones of the Klept world. And for that, I think we look forward to Maurice Noble and all the Warner Brothers cartoons, his simple design. He also did the design on The Grinch as well. Yeah. Something simple, something that wouldn't kind of conflict with our little gray characters. So it was a real challenge, but a real joy. I had so much fun working on the design aspect of the show.
Yeah, and then we threw in a little Willy Wonka, Dr. Seuss, when it comes to some of the weaponry, Rube Goldberg for some of the contraptions.
Yeah, we have a battle, and we didn't want to make it too violent, so we have like these Willy Wonka, Dr. Seuss type weapons, where the elves kind of cobbled together some of the implements they used for making gifts, and they turned them into gift wrapping guns, and what else do we have?
Ribbon shooters.
Yeah, ribbon shooters and wreath blowers. It's a lot of fun.
And I think there might be a cameo from Elf.
Yes, actually, we go back to the roots of Elf. We revisited some of the Arctic critters that we created for Elf in our film. So there's one shot as we introduced the North Pole, we get to see the walrus and the famous puffin, similar to the puffins that was used in Elf. So it's like an homage to John's holiday classic, Elf.
That's lovely. There's such a rich tradition of filmmaking for the holiday season, and it's great to see so many of those beloved elements pulled together like this. What are you hoping audiences will take away from Alien Xmas?
Actually, the kind of a family experience where they can watch it all together and enjoy. At its core, it's a story about giving. When you think about what is Christmas all about, it really is giving, exchanging gifts. And at the center of that is love. And hopefully this will be the kind of show that will be passed down and people will look forward to seeing it again and again, year after year.
Yeah, should we be fortunate enough that, people take it into their hearts and want to watch it repeatedly every year with their family and share it with the next generation going forward. I mean, again, to go alongside of, Elf, Rudolph, Santa Claus is coming to town, that would be kind of our ultimate goal. Yeah, but at its core, I mean, as much fun we had creating the world, it's really this the story, the little at its core that what's the true meaning of Christmas, and it's giving, not receiving.
Here you go. Nobody likes being alone, especially on Christmas.
X finally understood how wonderful it was to receive a gift.
One of the things that struck me was just the enormous amount of props.
Yeah.
Yes, the fun thing about stop motion is we make everything down from the costumes to the props. Everything had to be fabricated. So we have these cool little weapons that the Klepts use, little ray guns. And we have all these little toys that we had to make for the toy shop, little gifts and presents, everything made miniature. And if you look at the sets, they're like these beautiful dioramas of miniature elements. It's so much fun. It takes me back to when I was young, playing with toys, playing with, let's say, little toy soldiers and little model dinosaurs and telling stories. So really, stop motion for us is an extension of play.
Yeah, it's funny. And even though like Rankin and Bass is certainly the inspiration, we knew that for today's audiences, modern audiences, we needed to update the production value a little bit. So Jeff and his team, Becky, our head of fabrication, Becky Van Cleve, their team was just all about the detail, populating the world, giving it those textures, just filling it up with a, semblance of what a real world would look like. So it's just really layered with all those elements. I mean, we had a crew of over 200 people over the course of a year and a half work on this movie. From seamstresses, machinists, carpenters, painters, mold makers, casting people,
electronics,
electricians, lighting people, camera people, animators, assistant animators. It's really a small army to make something like this come to life.
Yeah. All handcrafted.
So how do you keep all of that organized?
That's his job.
Yeah. You know, it's the people you work with. It's the team you assemble. You hire great department heads and give them the power and the trust to execute their job and keep a dialogue going. It was a pretty formidable task because this was a pretty accelerated schedule compared to some of like other stop motion features. We're averaging 10 seconds a day on a stage, which is really kind of lightning fast. The running time is 40 minutes. And so we cranked this out pretty quickly.
How were you able to accomplish so many seconds a day? That's 8 seconds a day, you said? That's incredible.
Well, it was I'll tell you, our team of animators were extraordinary. We had our Kim Blanchett and Tucker Barry were our lead animators, and they just cranked out the frames. I mean, Kim did a wonderful job with Sam 2, our alien Swiss Army robot, and he transforms into all these different devices. And Tucker did some wonderful work with X and the puppy. Their performances were wonderful. And then we had Idro Lee doing beautiful work, and Savannah Steiner. I mean, these people created performances that I think really expressed the core spirit of the show and gave us beautiful pantomime performances.
Yeah, I mean, again, there are actors, and they were under a lot of pressure. I mean, some days we didn't get those 8 seconds. You know, there were certain acting shots where we slowed down and let them take their time, but there are other times where, you know, the clock is ticking, you know?
But it was an interesting choice in the very beginning. Just a little anecdote. When we first wrote the script, we had X and Sam 2 talked to each other. And there was this contentious relationship between them, almost like a Laurel and Hardy type tit for tat. And we pitched it to John, and John kind of saw what we wanted to create, but he said, you know, guys, let's try something more like a Buster Keaton, like the everyday man against the world. And let's not give X a voice, and let's not give Sam 2 a voice. And we said, really? How are we going to do this? So we thought about it, and I think it made the story more powerful. I think by having them mute and just pantomime and express through motion, I think showed us the best that stop motion can offer. Not a bunch of talking heads, but just emotion and action through movement. And I think hopefully it's a powerful performance that really affects the audience.
Yeah, and on like a little technical thing that we did to help speed the animation processes, the mouths are all added in post. So the animators did not have to just deal with the drudgery of taking out a mouth shape and putting it on the puppet, and then finding that mouth shape for each phoneme of what the voices were. So we had little tracking marks on the puppets, and all the mouths were done in post. So that allowed them to really just kind of focus on the main body gestures, the performance, the emotion of the shot.
Yeah, and there was a lot of technology. We did a lot of multiple passes, combining elements in post. But when it comes down to it, the one technique you can't really change is the frame-by-frame manipulation of the puppet. That is done by hand. There's no way we can speed that up. And the animators really pulled off a really wonderful job.
Yeah, it's just gorgeous. And that kind of brings me to our final question. The two of you are well known for your stop motion work over the years and much beloved properties. But you've also worked in visual effects. Talk a little bit about the marriage of those two things.
Oh,
well, it's funny, you know, when we started the company, it was built on stop motion animation. We love stop motion animation from an early age. King Kong, Mighty Joe Young, Seven Voyages of Sinbad, all those movies growing up. And it was always our dream to make stop motion animated movies. But when we came to Hollywood, it was kind of out of vogue. It was at the time where, you know, Gremlins, E.T., where directors were working with live puppets on set. So as just kind of a way to stay in business and earn a living, we transitioned into the more practical effects puppetry, because you use a very similar design fabrication technique. And so that's how we got into visual effects. And we've been really fortunate to work on some really stellar projects over the years, while still doing steady stop motion on the side, because it was what we always wanted to do.
Yeah, for us, we came to Los Angeles to make movies. That's what we came here for. But we didn't really know much about the industry coming from the East Coast. So we used our art talents and skills to get into the industry. And I was a stop motion animator and a sculptor, so I got involved in special effects. And little by little, we learned how films were being made. We met people along the way, and we kind of built a reputation for a certain style of filmmaking. And little by little, we were able to get some of our ideas out into the industry. And well, we're very fortunate to have met John, took us to Netflix, and gave us this opportunity to make this this long-awaited holiday special.
Oh, that is incredible. Thank you so much for delving into the making of this beautiful special. Really, oops, we have a guest. Sorry.
Oh, surprise guest.
She escaped.
Always want to be the center of attention.
Yes, absolutely. I just am so excited about this. I know it was so many years in gestation, and now it will be available for audiences, like you said, globally, which is absolutely amazing. Trailer came out recently, and there's been so much excitement over that. Congratulations on bringing this project to the screen. So happy for you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you.
And a big thank you again to CTN for having us today. And thank you to all of you at home who've been watching along. We appreciate it. I'm wishing everyone well.